Hello, good morning to everyone. Hope you're all doing great. So, in today's session, we are receiving Daniel, who is going to give us a brief overview on how we should get ready in order to have the competency to level up and go on into the job market and start our IT career. So, here we are, if you're attending this event for the first time, it's the AWS Douala user group. So our first aim is to bring everyone together so as we should continuously share our experience. We should be surrounded by those who are passionate about the technology as us, and we should share tips in order to level up and in order to be in a world uh, in a good community. So uh, I will give the hands to Daniel so as he will start his presentation. Daniel.
Thank you. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone that took their time to join on this weekend, and thank you to Antoine for inviting me. It's really a pleasure for me to give my overview on how people should get ready for cloud computing, and mainly because I was one of it. I started a few years ago and got ready for the market, and I'm in the market, and I want to help others get that too. So as Antoine said, my name is Daniel Gaina, and I'm a senior cloud engineer. I work mainly with AWS, and I'm going to introduce a little bit about the agenda on the call today. So basically today we're going to talk, we're going to have a little bit of introduction about myself. We're going to talk about the rise of cloud computing. We're going to move into why the cloud is an exciting career path, why people should choose that. Then we're going to talk about how my opinion on how to transition to a tech role with no tech background. We're going to talk about how we can use networking and leverage our network to find that opportunity that we're looking for, how to prepare for the job hunt, and what are the soft skills and mindset that we need. And we're going to end up with a Q&A session because I think this should be also a part of interaction session where people can ask questions on their experience and so on. So I can tell you a bit about myself. So I'm Daniel. I was born in Romania. I graduated military high school in 2009. And then I moved into Military Technical Academy, which is technical university. I was studying mechanical engineering. However, I dropped out in 2012 because it was not something that I enjoyed. It's not something that I wanted to do. And then between 2012 and 2020, I found myself doing different odd jobs. I started working as a waiter, as a bartender. I worked as a chef for a while. I worked as a taxi driver, accountant for a while. So I tried different type of things that didn't really satisfy my curiosity, my need of learning. And at that point, I knew I had a friend in IT and recommended me the cloud, and specifically AWS. So since that time, I went into studying cloud. And within 6 months and after a couple of certifications, I managed to get my first job, which was network security consultant. It was towards end of 2020, and I worked in that job until mid 2021. It was not specifically AWS, but it was in IT. So that's how I broke in. Then I moved to a cloud support engineer, which again, it was not specifically AWS, but it was more about had to do with on-premises technologies like OpenStack, Linux servers, Metal as a service, and so on. I worked in that job for 6 months, which was great. I did learn a lot. And the reason why I moved to the next job was because I got my first cloud engineer role for an AWS partner. That was exactly what I studied. That was exactly what I prepared for. And I worked there for a year, where I moved to my current job, as I said, at the moment, senior cloud engineer for an AWS partner company in the UK. Other mentions that I would put here along this 3 years of time since 2022 till today, I managed to get 8 AWS certifications. I do have other certifications too. Some to mention are CompTIA, security, some related to the CompTIA ones, some related to Security Plus, Network Plus, and Cloud Plus, because they're all things that I kind of feel that are very important for whenever you start in IT. And then I have some cybersecurity ones because I'm quite passionate about that, but that's more on the side rather than my main skill. I'm also an AWS community builder because I'm quite passionate sharing with people my AWS knowledge, share with people my knowledge on how to break into tech or how to break into cloud and my perspective on that. You can find some of my socials. You can see I posted my LinkedIn name, so you can find me there as Daniel Gaina. I also have a YouTube channel. It's easier to find with the handle. It's actually called Daniel Talk Tech, and where I present some of my opinions on the technologies or also my story, how I broke into tech and stuff. Moving forward, I wanna talk about why this topic, why this is important for me to talk about. First is that I have an opinion that if you're the best in the world at something, but people don't see it and you don't use your skill properly, it won't matter. And one of the reasons was like I started with AWS and I was studying AWS certifications. And my first IT role, or at least for like a year and a bit, it was not related to AWS. So whatever I studied, I did not put in practice at my work and stuff. It was still related to tech, but it was not necessary to AWS. So I think that it's very important because some, like me, some people make mistakes where they study something and they go into a different role where it's not related to what they studied. Secondly, I think many people focusing on becoming the best at what they do from a technical point of view, but they don't really show that to everyone. They don't really document what they do. They don't, they put lots of efforts into it, but they don't showcase that. And I feel like, nobody will know about you. You worked hard and you tried your best, but people will not know what exactly you've done unless you show them in a form of like documenting it. And then the third one, I feel it's more challenging to find the right role than learning the tech that needs to be work in IT. I feel that it's not as challenging to learn the tech, but it's more challenging to be like, I've learned the tech, what do I do now? How do I find the right role for me? And I feel like this is why I'm talking about this topic, because this is on many people's lips, what I see in the industry where they study and they're like, okay, what do I do now? How do I get into this? So let's address the cloud computing and why it rose so much, right? So basically, cloud computing, as its core definition, it's basically a series of services that are delivered over the internet, and the main one are storage, compute, network, database, analytics, and so much more. But this is the main definition of cloud computing. The reason why it got adopted so much is because it's so much easier nowadays to go globally compared to back in the days. Back in the days you used to have like there are still companies, and even today there's still companies that in order to go globally they need some servers, they need a rack or things like that. While as with the cloud, you don't need anything. You can stay in front of your laptop and you can develop something and go globally, with minutes and stuff. There's also a pay-as-you-go model that cloud adopts, which again, back in the days, even if you prefer to go like on-premise model, you have to spend a lot of money before you actually go online. You pay money for storage, you pay money for server, you pay money for some networking and so on. So that it's not as a big expense when you go into the cloud. And then again, like if you have an idea and you go with something and then if it works, then all good. But if it doesn't work, you can just kind of scale back and not pay anything, like in the cloud, right? Where as on premise, you will have to keep that data, keep that server and so on, and maybe sell it or on a second-hand marketplace or something. So you're stuck with that kind of equipment that you buy. Again, we talk about scalability and elasticity. So basically, like the ability to scale our systems. If we develop an application, it becomes instant success. Again, we can scale up to, to meet that demand on a historical path, right? And elasticity, we talk about meeting the demand like right now. So for example, if there's some sort of event that happens, like a Black Friday, like a Christmas or something, or even as I said, your stuff goes viral some way, you can scale up for as long as your stuff goes viral, and then you probably can scale down, and then you only pay for that period of time rather than having to get stuck with the equipment. And then other benefits for cloud computing are like cost optimization. Again, I said that you can optimize based on your usage. You can minimize security vulnerabilities, such as taking care of your data center from all point of view, like cooling or flooding or any other problems that may appear, or like even intruders or so on. All this Amazon takes care of it, and this can be very helpful. So I feel like this helped de-risk some of the businesses, and hence the reason why they adopted cloud computing. So that's one of the things that helped businesses massively. So when we talk about why the cloud is an exciting career path, so in my opinion, there are many reasons to it, and I presented it here. One is high demand. So as we know, there are lots developing in the IT world, and the fact that these are developed on the cloud infrastructure, there's high demand for cloud engineers in order to administrate that, or in order to create that, or in order to improve that. So the high demand is definitely linked with the adoption of the cloud computing. Because there's a high demand, this field is booming, clearly, right? So it's all linked together. And due to that, there's lots of job roles in it. And you have cloud security engineer, cloud architect, the cloud developer, and so on and so on. There's really lots of paths that people can go. And I feel like it's very important because it gives you that ability to choose, right? Back in the days, I feel like there was not much choice into this. It was more into related to the technologies that you worked, and you were stuck to that, to what your company was using, and so on. Also, there's a high earning potential with the cloud. I see lots of people saying like, you're going to earn lots of money and so on, but I feel like that should be as a second or a third motivator for you, because you really need to enjoy working with this kind of stuff, with this technology, in order to make it in this field or to make it in IT. So money should not be one of your motivators, because in order to get that high, you need to go very deep within the industry, and then like that requires a lot of commitment and a lot of effort. So but what's good about it, there's a high growth potential. The fact that cloud technologies and the cloud in general is like a pretty new way of doing stuff, there's a lot of growth within it. So lots of companies, they're still on premise, and they still look to adopt the cloud. And I feel like that could boost the number of engineers needed for the industry. And with our growth, then there's a potential for people to enter this industry. So talking about transitioning to a tech role with no IT background, there are two ways. So either people have IT background, either people do not have IT background, right? But I will address this fear as like, do I need a tech background? And I started too. And when I started, I was thinking like, how is this? Can I do this and stuff? I did not have a tech background, but all I knew in IT is the mentality of like, if you know how to do it, they'll hire you. So it's more about having the skill rather than having the background. And I think it's one of the few industries in the world that take advantage of this privilege. And I feel like we should take advantage of that, because like you cannot be a lawyer without going to law school or something, but you can be an IT engineer without going to a university that teaches that. Obviously, is recommended. However, at the same time, you can take, I would say, call it the shorter route. It's more difficult indeed, but like you can go to IT without having a tech background and learning by yourself all this kind of stuff. So I would say don't fear about that, because there are other people that done it and they keep doing it. one thing that people don't really take in consideration when they either switch to IT or they're trying to break in IT is their soft skills. IT is not just about having like working with machines and be just okay, I know how to do this and that's it. There's lots of soft skills and transferable skills that are very important, especially when you break to IT. We talk about skills like communication, we talk about team player, we talk about resilience, adaptability, right? These are all soft skills that I feel like people are not focusing enough on. They focus a lot on like how do I do this in Linux? How do I do this in like Python and so on? But they don't think about like what am I trying to show? How can I most effectively communicate what I want and so on? And I feel like those are important stuff because in general, IT is not like a purely no customer facing job. Some of them are, but very little. I feel like you should work on your soft skills too, and especially those transferable skills. If you're coming from a different background into cloud, think about what can I use and complement it with my IT skills and so on. And then we talk about the certification versus no certification route. I know the industry is pretty divided into this. However, I have a strong opinion that we should get certified because choosing between certified and no certified, I will always choose certified. But that doesn't mean that that's all you need. I'm just saying that you need to put it into your balance. You need to put it into your package of knowledge and to your stuff, because certification doesn't mean you're an expert. It just means that you're committed, that you have the information that's in there, you passed an exam and so on, compared to somebody that just say, no, I'm not bothered with the certification and so on. So I wouldn't see it as a bad thing. I would try to see the positive in it. And I feel like sometimes people get influenced and they're kind of like, no, I'm not going to get certified. I'm just going to focus on the skills, on the hands-on skills. However, certification gets you to the door. Those skills prove that you are worth staying there. So I feel like definitely people should approach certification. And obviously you should start with something like cloud practitioner or solution architect or, like the developer, whatever's your background. If you had like other background, then try to leverage that. But if you're new to it, just start with a cloud practitioner. And then we talk about that practical hands-on experience. And in here, I put it some of the things that I think it will help a lot. One of the things is the cloud resume challenge. And that's pretty much like making your profile, making your resume by using cloud technologies and by using all sort of like an S3 bucket to host it, or using pipeline to like store it on GitHub, using a pipeline whenever you change something and so on. So I feel like all these technologies could help you demonstrate that you have some hands-on experience to help you to break into the IT. Some of the other labs to mention here are Adrian Cantrell labs or any other learning platform ones. I use the A Cloud Guru one when I started, and I was doing lots and lots of labs because that way I learned a lot how, even though there were like stuff to do through the console mostly, I think it still helps. You can see when you go to an interview, the interviewer can see if you dealt with that thing before by the way you move, by where you click, by knowing where like security group is on the left panel and so on, right? So I feel like all that helps, that practice. And then again, personal projects. And here it depends to you. Basically, is like, some people are passionate about data analytics. Some people are passionate about machine learning. Some people are passionate about networking. So you should do kind of like a personal project to you, something that you enjoy, just to bring you that knowledge. I remember like one of the personal stuff that I did, I created like with SNS and sent mobile notifications to my mobile and so on. And it was something like that I could see the impact of it, and I was so happy with it. And I feel like that was one of my first projects that I really enjoyed, and I would recommend people go there too. Moving on, I feel like you worked a lot on your skills and you worked, on creating your resume, but now it's time for you to network with people. One of the things, as I said, I feel it's very important is for you to share your story and your learning on platforms like LinkedIn, Medium, YouTube. The reason I say that is you're not doing this just for the job. You're also doing this for yourself. So when you learn a topic and then you put it onto a blog post or onto a video or onto even a LinkedIn post, it doesn't have to be a blog post. You are summarizing what you're learning. You are visualizing it in a more concise way, in a better way. And then at the same time, you are sharing with others. Others can see that you're passionate about this. Either can see that you're working hard to it, and they can get impressed. And you never know how somebody can look at you, and after 10 blogs or 10 posts or something like that, they can be like, you know what, I'm going to call this guy for an interview because I think he's dedicated. That could help a lot. And I've heard lots of stories, and my story is also one of the stories where I shared lots of things on LinkedIn. I got most of my jobs from LinkedIn not by applying to jobs, because that's one of the things I tried and I failed on it. When I started, I applied to over 300 jobs, and there were very, very few that responded. And I was very lucky that I got through a LinkedIn recommendation. Somebody saw my post and it was like, hey, would you like to come for an interview? And that was my breakthrough, right? But I think people should look more into this. So basically, as I said, build a profile, like put what you learn, engage with others in the cloud community, because it's exactly like that thing. If you want to be a cloud engineer, you want to think like one, you want to be one, you want to go out there in the world and say, I am a cloud engineer. That's going to help a lot, because not only to them, but only to you. I remember my first time when I said I'm a cloud engineer, I felt very weird because I was not used to saying it, right? But the more and more time passed, the more and more I acknowledge that I actually know things and I actually can do this and I can be a cloud engineer. So I feel like that's one of the things. And again, you can join groups of people motivated to learn. Is exactly like this one, exactly like this AWS user group. Join them, be around people that they are motivated to learn, they are motivated to break into cloud, and you're going to succeed too. Number 3 is about get certified. Again, I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but it will make you stand out to recruiters, to people. They'll see that you're motivated and so on. And number 4, about gaining relevant skills. And as I said, here is more about what you want to study. I started with infrastructure. I started with networking, with Linux. I really love that kind of part of it. Also loved with security. So I looked into cloud security and stuff. Not too much into programming, data analytics, but some people are different. Some people love programming. Some people love data analytics. Try to see, how do I take what I love and how do I take cloud and then combine it to kind of try to do something that I enjoy at the same time, right? Because again, this is going to be a career where you're never going to stop learning. And that's my last point of it. This is a career where you have to continuously learn. The technologies, they develop so quickly and so rapid that, even by not doing anything for a month, you can be left behind by it. So try to always look at what you want to do and try to stay on top of the things that you want to be good at, the thing that you want to be recognized in. And I feel like that's part of what people should do on the other side of getting ready. It's more about also getting from this point of view to leverage the other stuff, not just the technical stuff. And once you've done that, you are preparing for the job, right? So when you prepare for the job, I feel it's important to have a resume. However, this is more like if you go via the traditional route. I tried to go via the traditional route. However, I did not, because like based on the fact that I didn't have a university in my CV and I didn't have like background, I find it very hard to pass those algorithms to get selected through my CV. However, if you have, this is different than the CV that I was saying about the cloud resume challenge, because that's something that you can show to people. But this is more applying to jobs and send your CV and hope you all get an answer back. I feel like it's quite hard to do that, and the industry is a lot about that. But you can be different. You can approach other people and you can research companies. You can do other stuff to make you stand out rather than just going and applying for a job and send a CV, you can network with people on LinkedIn, as I said, and you can ask them, hey, do you know a role somewhere? Or hey, have a look at my work. What do you think? Do you think I can make it for this junior role that you have within your company and so on? And I feel like that's important. So it's more about having that cloud resume, showing the projects that you did and all that kind of stuff, rather than a traditional way. At least that will help me. If you have good credentials, then it's safe to go via the CV route. I would say prepare for those interviews, because like me, when I applied for 300 jobs, I didn't get many chances, and I knew that one chance that I get, I'm going to be prepared for it. So I had in my mind questions about, I studied, how would I answer to this question? But mostly I feel like, no matter how hard you try, sometimes you're going to fail, and sometimes it's not necessarily about make it work from the first time. And at the same time, the same way how other company evaluate you, you should evaluate them. So it's more about trying to see how to prepare for those interviews, and how do you feel in those interviews, and hopefully by talking about the personal projects that you've done, by answering the questions and so on, you get a positive response back. If not, at least ask for feedback. Again, another thing to prepare for the job hunt is to research the company, the roles. You should look at the responsibility of the role. You should look at, what are the team look like? What are the skills that people have within that? And what does the company do? Because, I feel that's very important, especially the fact that it's going to be your first role or your first role in IT. You want to be somewhere where it's motivating. You want to be somewhere where it's engaging, where you learn stuff, because that's why you're there, right? So you want to be in a company that does the right things. While you're doing that, I feel it's also important to stay updated with the tech, with AWS, with all this kind of stuff, because that can show your commitment. I remember in one of my interviews, they were talking about they asked me, what is the latest thing that you read about AWS? And I was a bit blocked about it, because I was like, I can't remember. And they were like, okay. So I kind of felt like, okay, so the purpose of the question was to see if I'm staying updated with the environment and so on. And I feel like that's important. And this is something that you should do, not just for them, but also for you. And again, I feel like one of the things it's super important to talk about, there's no right or wrong way. It's more about your way. So everybody should tailor their approach to the job market, and the technique that they use and the way they do this, to their own personality, to their own background, to their own desire. This is not like me saying like this is the right way, and if you do all these points, you're going to get a job. No, this is more about like the mentality that you should have around it. And then if you do all this, you have a higher chance than somebody that doesn't to get the job. So it's more about trying to find your own way and trying to understand what are my strong points and so on, in order to approach this. Moving forward, I want to talk about the soft skills and the mindset that is required, because I feel like lots of people, they're not really they don't really understand what it takes when they take an IT role, or when they take cloud computing, right? This is a very big field. This is a very hard job. This is a very demanding job, because if you really want to be great at it, if you really want to be succeeding in this role, you need to be very resilient of not backing up when things are tough. The same when I applied for my roles, I got like lots of rejection, but somehow I knew that one day I'll make it. I don't know how long it'll take. It can take another 3 months, but I'll make it at some point. But I just have to keep persevere, keep trying, and keep getting better, because if I keep getting better at it, one day somebody will take a chance on me. And I feel like that's something that people should think about. The resilience, the perseverance. I mentioned here the communication that they need, because you're going to end up into a team. You're going to end up communicating with people. You need to, even though you might be great at your work, but if you're not like a good person, a good team player, you're not going to be appreciated in that field, and you're not going to stay there too long, because it's very important to try to work together as best as you can with others, and to adapt to the fact that, you know, there are things that you might be put where to learn new things, and you have to be adaptable, and you have to be, you know, sure, I'll look into this, and not take no and say no, I cannot do this, and so on. Like, try to be, I'll give it a try. And then I feel like that can boost you up, not only in an interview but also in a role, and also it will help you to showcase your mindset to the interviewer about it. Another thing that I've learned across my years, and I think that students should, or people to break into tech, they should embrace failures, because this is going to happen anyway. And I say to people, when I look at them and I say about the failures in IT in general, regardless if it's a like, you know, you apply for a job, or you worked in IT, or you done a mistake somehow, it's more about like, do I have the skills to overcome this? Do I have the mentality to go past it and stuff, and accept that I made a mistake, but just continue with it, right? Continue, or admitting that I don't know a subject, and continue learning it, continue studying it, and so on. And I feel like that's something that people should adopt into their mindset when it comes to cloud computing, because it's you're gonna fail, you're gonna do things that there might not be the best or optimal way, but you should try to embrace that and try to improve it by continuing learning. So your journey does not stop when you get a job. Your journey kind of never stops. This is not like a sprint where I got the job and I achieved the you know, I got the prize and that's it, right? No, this is more like a marathon. So you have to continuously do it at the speed you decide. So nobody pressured you on the speed. That's something that you should decide. But again, it's, you should never stop. You should continue. And by staying curious and by always asking yourself, is there a better way to do this? You know, is there a new service in AWS that can help me do this? Or, you know, what are different ways that I can achieve the same result? I feel like these are things that will help you grow, because you don't just find out about a single way of doing. You challenge yourself by trying different ways, trying to be more efficient, better. And I feel in the last thing, we should talk about work-life balance and mental health. And I feel like this is different to everybody. This is the work-life balance. It's everybody's different formula. For me, I love my work. I work a lot because I want to get somewhere one day. And, you know, like the fact that I put more hours into it, for some other people might not look healthy, but that's up to them, because I know my limits. I know how, where can I stop, and so on. And so should you. So should you look at, okay, when, like, how much can I do and how better can I get? And, you know, by not sacrificing my health, by not sacrificing my mental health specifically, and physical health, because that's very important. Without it, you will not succeed. You will get drained of it. You will kind of get to a point where you're going to hate it, and you're not going to enjoy it anymore. And remember, the first place why you got into IT was because you're enjoying this field. You enjoy the novelty of it, the innovation, and learning from it, right? So you should not get to a point where you hate it. You should get to a point where, okay, I've achieved this, I can rest a bit, and then I can continue, or I can dose it every day to the point where I can be efficient, but also have a good balance between it, and my mental health doesn't have to suffer that much. Yeah, and I feel like this is pretty much it, what I had to share about it. I feel like those points, I put it very concise because I think they're very important. I don't really prefer a lot like lists and stuff like that. I feel like everybody's different. Everybody has their own life, and there are many factors that include into this. However, I tried my best to englobate as much as I could from my experience. I would really like if people have questions, because I feel this should be some sort of interaction session. So if people have questions about this, I can share my opinion on. It will be really great. So yeah.
Daniel, thank
Right.
you for your amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
yeah,
Right.
thanks. So I Fun, you want to say
Thanks.
something?
Yes, yes. First of all, I want to apologize. I had an emergency, so I joined a bit late. But anyway, thanks so much for your presentation and your advice and your experience as well, Daniel. Some of the things that you said, they resonate a lot with me because when I started my own journey, I faced a couple of challenges, although I wasn't new to tech, but working in the cloud was kind of new to me, right? And the more you put yourself out there, the more you increase your chances of actually getting into tech, right? What I want to say before we start taking questions from the audience is that, as usual, we do a lucky draw, and but before doing the lucky draw, you need to fill our feedback, form so that we have an idea of what we did right. If there's anything, if you want to see the speaker again, please just give us your honest opinions, and we'll try to make the next experience worthwhile for you. So I'm going to share the link in the chat while Daniel is taking questions from the audience. Please just take a few minutes and fill it, and we can make the next experience worth your while. Thank you.
Okay, guys, so you can feel free to unmute yourself and interact with us. Okay, so to add an input about what Daniel said, previously, I think it's like a year ago, I had no job and I was networking on LinkedIn, and Daniel told me, I'm seeing what you're doing, I'm seeing the articles you're writing, just keep on going, you'll get a job. And from the moment he told me that, a few weeks later, I got a job. So just apply all what he was just saying, and later on you will see the result. So I think Ange wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to have an AWS community builder with us today. So, also, I don't know if you remember, we are connected on LinkedIn, and when talking about networking, I was thinking when I was requesting a connection with you, and I texted you about an open position either or at CloudSource or CloudVisor.
Mhm.
I am seeing, looking, and waiting for open roles. And for my little experience, I have also started my study in mechanical engineering before dropping out after 2 years. And I have taken 1 year to attend boot camp and doing internship in an IT field before transferring my credit and to pursue my bachelor in computer engineering now. Now I am working as an application analyst, but I am highly looking in a cloud role. So I apply to many jobs, and I would like to know if the country matters, because it seems that when they are looking for when they are posting jobs, they always say remote, but when you apply, it's something like maybe because of the country you are not eligible. So I would like to know if it matters in the job search. Thank you.
I can definitely address this. And I think it's very important because obviously with the COVID, IT moved to remote more and more. However, I feel there's a feeling where within the community that some companies ask people to come back to the office. One of the things, when you're applying for a remote job, especially in cloud computing, mostly I would say that that company says remote within, like the remote in a company ad means within the country territory, in my opinion. Secondly, even though it's remote internationally, there are certain challenges to it around legislation, around working permit, around stuff that company needs to follow. And it's not necessarily that companies do not want to do this. They do not want to spend too much money because, like for example, big companies like AWS or Microsoft, they can afford to sustain this visa charges and working permit and so on. However, small companies do not most of the time. And for them, it's like they're looking more at the remote work pool people within that country or within that specific region rather than internationally. Because when you talk to international people, it's more challenging, it's more they come from different background, different culture, and so on. So it's a bit different. I feel like I don't necessarily think that if your aim is to get a remote work, I feel like you should try to get within your country, especially if it's your first role, right? Try to get better at it. Try to the more you upskill, the more maybe bigger companies will notice you, and then you will be worth enough for a company to pursue the work permit route where they spend more money to bring you in and stuff. I would like to think that that's the right way of approaching this, because it's more has to do with the legislation and the laws of the specific country rather than not wanting to take a specific individual. So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Okay, to a little bit more contextualize the situation, it's true that there are many international companies that are hiring internationally, but not in Africa. And us, most of our community, most of the members of our community present here are located in Africa. But nevertheless, as you will apply, you will get rejection. You have Daniel, which is in the EU region. He had to apply over 300 times. Okay, what about you, who is in an unfavored location? So I had applied almost the same number of time, and you need to keep on going. When you have a rejection, let it not affect your mindset. Let every no should encourage you to go to a yes.
I can share here a quick story about rejection. When I was a year into my job, I got a job interview at AWS, at Amazon, or a cloud support engineer role. And I kind of knew I'm not ready. And I went to the interview and I failed it, and they were not selecting me. And I was okay with it because I knew I was not ready for it. So part of it is being honest with yourself and say, that company did not take you because they didn't like you as a person. They didn't take you because they saw that you don't have the skills necessary. So what do you have to do? You have to go back home and work harder and try to see, or if you have the skills, how can I showcase them the better? Because even at the AWS, maybe I had the skills, but maybe I didn't know how to show them properly. Or maybe I froze and I didn't know exactly how to behave and so on. So there's a lot of things to this mentality where, don't look at the company, they rejected you as something bad. Look at like, maybe I was not good enough. Maybe I should get better. And then next time they will not reject me and so on. So try to adopt the positive in the situation rather than looking at the rejection. That will keep you going. That will keep you trying to apply again.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. I just want to add something on top of that as well. One of the things that you mentioned is that you have to, keep on upskilling yourself. The more you upskill yourself, the more you learn from. You go to an interview, you ask a question and you don't know what the answer is. The next time you go to the next interview, if you keep on trying to improve on yourself, you'll definitely have the best answer for that question. So even when you finally land a role, what you will discover is you'll still be pretty much, not very comfortable. There will still be a lot of things that you need to, learn. So upskilling, learning, becoming better, becoming more fine-tuned as an engineer is something that it's going to be part and parcel for you if you're in tech. And we all know that technology changes, very rapidly. So that is a constant, whether you're actually working in tech or not, or you have a cloud role or not. Not getting a job should not, derail you or slow you down. You just need to keep, be focused, know what you want to achieve at the end, and just keep on working, and eventually you are going to pick up something.
I totally agree.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go
Sure.
on.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, first of all, for the amazing presentation. You stressed a lot. I realized that you stressed a lot on the documentation part of it. And it's not the first time I hear this, but I have a point which I want to get your opinion. I don't know if documenting or blogging should be done on the popular websites like Medium, or it's better to maintain a personal website for blogging? What's your opinion about that?
I think that's up to you. You can totally, I think you're better viewed if you hold
Is
a
the question
personal
clear?
website. Yes, yes. So I think that if you hold a personal website, it's even better. However, if you don't want to go through the process of, hosting that website and so on, and you can just blog post it about it, right? So, but it's up to you. I feel like both ways are achieving the same purpose of showcasing what you worked on, what you did. So yeah, both lead to the same result. It's just a difference in effort. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it kind of answers it. Why am I asking this question? Because sorry, I got unmuted, sorry. Yeah, it answers the question. The question arose because I kind of read somewhere that maintaining blogs on popular websites will drive more audience to your work and will make you stand better. But
Yes.
of course, maintaining a personal website kind of showcase even more your ability of, in case it's not something like built on a CMS or something like that, the ability for you to build these solutions yourself robustly, and you have the ground of doing what you want with your website. For the industry, in the industry side, I don't know which approach is better. That's why I had to ask that question.
I would say even better to this. If you have your own website and stuff, still post on the other mediums like LinkedIn Medium, and put a link to your website. Because, for example, let's say you do an amazing project and you put it on your website. Your website might not have as much traffic as a social media platform that's focusing on tech blogs or on networking connections and so on, right? So people might not land on your webpage to see that amazing blog post that you've done. So this way you can leverage the audience there to send it to your blog post, to your website, to see what you've done. But I think it's a bit harder. I would still think that it's good. However, it's different. It has different challenges, both of them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a simple analogy that someone gave to me, because when I was starting out, I also had that dilemma. And what the person said is this: generally, when you start out, you're not very popular, right? For example, if you've got a shop and you want to sell, maybe you've got a boutique, you want to sell clothes. When you're starting out, it might just be better for you to go to a market where there is already traffic of people looking for stuff to buy, and then you set up your shop over there. So the advantage of blogging on established platforms is just that you have direct access to that traffic, and you can get a couple of people that might be interested in what you're writing. So if you eventually discover that you're doing a great job at writing, you've got a lot of people that comment on your articles, you can eventually decide to start telling them, oh, now I have my personal blog, and you can come over there. So having a personal blog, if you write a lot, you have a personal blog and people engage with you, who knows, maybe you can start monetizing that, right? So a personal blog is probably the advantage is in that it enhances your personal brand, maybe as an engineer, as a content creator, or whatever you want to do. That is the ultimate thing, but there's a lot of responsibility on you to maintain that website, maintain the blog and all the information and the content that goes on it, as well as trying to constantly drive traffic, and you work on your search engine optimization so that when people are searching maybe for a subject or a topic that you are probably a thought leader in, that traffic, your website or your blog should come up to number one, right? So I think if you, in my own opinion, start with a popular blogging platform, maybe Hashnode or dev.to, and then eventually, if you've got what it takes, to pull your own traffic to your personal blog, then head over there. But ideally, if you really want to nurture your personal brand, then you should definitely have a personal platform where you express your ideas.
That's very well said.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so just a last reminder for those who want to win AWS credits. There are going to be 3 winners that are going to win $50 worth of AWS credit. That can only be used on the AWS console, of course. So in 1 or 2 minutes, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to spin the wheel. So if you haven't filled the survey, please do so. We really cherish your feedback, so we can try to make this kind of events more fun for you. Thank you. So if anyone has got any question, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi there.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks very much for the great presentation. Okay, please. I'm coming to ask some questions because I have some 2 interviews coming up for cloud architect role, and I would like to give a brief about my background and maybe to see how you can maybe give some points on how I can prepare very well for the interview. I come from an IT background. I've been working as a NOC analyst, and I work in a data center where, in fact, I know more about infrastructure, the physical infrastructure of how the computing systems are being and networking is being done. And also, in added to that, I've been learning a lot in cloud computing and been doing some freelancing stuff on cloud computing. So I would like to know, like, getting to a role for a cloud architect, how can I do to stand out, given that I have more of an experience in an IT background in the data center milieu, but some few years of freelancing and consulting in cloud? How should I do to stand out, to present myself very well for the interview, maybe to stand out?
Yes, that's a very good question. Obviously, the fact that you have IT experience and that you worked with stuff helps you a lot. When you move to an architect position, basically the architect, its role is to create the structure of the services that are meant to be implemented that serves the business needs. So most of the time, when you look at cloud, for example, you need to know a lot about system design. You need to know a lot about the different cloud services, not necessarily like in depth, but to have the wide spread of knowledge about different cloud services and how you can leverage them in certain architectural designs. So this is more about choices, is more about listening to your customers. So this is a mix between customer facing and analytics and knowing of systems technology, system design, and cloud technology. So it's quite something to get, and I feel like people when they're much senior, they can become architects of it. It's not something I would say that it cannot be done. However, it's quite complicated, and it can take a lot of experience to get to that level. What I would say is that if it's in like a cloud architect thing, I don't know if it's AWS or not, but then if it is, then I would try to look a lot at system design, solution design, like AWS services in general, so you can know what pieces that can help you that fits the customer requirements. And I feel like that's where you should look into. That can be very helpful for the interview and so on. I think AWS has, if I'm not wrong, like a website where they present customer solutions, something like this is my design or something like that. I